started, sir? I think, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Now only I got a message. You know. Thank you, sir. So, good afternoon, dear learners. So, we are going to learn a new chapter of the afternoon session, that is MDI 004, Indian Diaspora and Overview. So, we have seen in MDI 1 uh, all four units of uh, the history, how it has started, the term diaspora itself, how Jews from Jews community, how it has been uh, come, what is the meaning of the term diaspora, and we have also learned uh, the migration that took place across the globe, starting from Jews community, uh, the African continent, South uh, Asia and South Asia particularly, and in European states or nations. And we know that it is by force all migration took place across the globe initially and evolved through, and nowadays it's by uh, person the migration taking place and diaspora formation is taking place. And the nation and transnation, the definition we have seen, the concept that we have understood. Now we are gradually moving to the Indian diaspora, particularly, right? Very important chapter to understand specifically or how the Indian diaspora has been rooted and how it is evolved. What is the reason in the beginning of Indian diaspora and how it has moved? Uh, so when you look into the learning objective of this block one, that is know about the Southeast Asia as a region of migration and diaspora formation, and understand the origin of Indian immigration to Southeast Asia and the cultural influence in the region, as well as to comprehend the cultural base of Indian immigration and spread the Buddhism and the Hinduism in the region, how this immigration helped in spreading the culture and the religion, the very close nations close to India. Describe the or analyze the cultural exchanges through trade and commerce between India and Southeast Asia in the pre-colonial period, and to elaborate the influence of migrants and diasporas. Right. So even the trade took place pre-colonial period in Southeast Asia, especially from India, between in Southeast Asia and among the Southeast Asian nations. So these are the main objectives of Block 1 of MDA 4, Asia. So map of Asian countries, starting from Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Philippines, Brunei, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, right, Timor. a country of Southeast Asia, right? So India is and Southeast Asia have numerous cultural traits. You have seen the pictures recently. Uh, Government of India has donated huge amount. I think around 10 crores to renovate and see the work of in the temple in Thailand, right? So over the centuries, various aspects of Indian culture have influenced the life and civilization of people living in Southeast Asia. You see the Murugan temple in Malaysia, right, and Indonesia, the temple of Garuda, all those things. So have civilization of people living in Southeast Asia. India's influence are clearly visible in their art, culture, and civilization of Southeast Asia. So the cultural influences gradually become predominant among these countries over the years, and Southeast Asian countries has become stronger, right? So the pictures clearly shows how they, in what extent the culture transmitted to other nations, right? Uh, if at all, how the people moved, the number of people moved over there and able to build a big temple in the host plant means or gives the understanding to us that there is a quiet number of people moved over there and able to uh, excuse me, and quite number of people moved over there and able to influence mm, the government, or we say soft power. The high volume of soft power had been there, right? Imagine they were able to influence the government and build big temples. Means that they were contributing heavily to the economy of the country, as well as they are not as slaves over there, or they are not as somebody who work over there. These are the two extent we can say that in they are able to, right? They are able to build temples in South Asian countries. So the cultural influences gradually become the predominant among these countries, right? The culture has influence, and culture becomes the predominant structure of those countries by the Indians. So Southeast Asia as a region, right? So the region of Southeast Asia is situated on the east of the Indian subcontinent and the south of China, right? So it consists of 11 countries, which generally divided into mainland and island zones. So we have seen in the map, right? I showed already the map. So these are the Southeast Asian countries, right? Vietnam, Thailand, Burma, Cambodia. Burma means Malaysia. So actually, the extension of the Asian continent. So the mainland characterized by the series of generally north-south trending mountain ranges separated by a number of major river valleys and their associated deltas, lot of agricultural land, right? So island and maritime Southeast Asia includes Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, the Philippines, Brunei, and the new nation of East Timor, formerly part of Indonesia, right? So these are the countries are very closely associated or closely linked with India and Indian people over there. So all those countries listed, like starting from Malaysia to Timor, are the countries which are mainly people migrated from India, right? We know that there is a special place in Chennai where they called Burma Bazaar, right? Burma Bazaar means they sell the product manufactured in Burma. This is Burma Bazaar. So, how this product has come here? It is because people move to Burma frequently during that time, and we have a small place. It's called People for uh, Burma Refugees. Means they're not refugees. They went and returned and all those things due to marriage. They have married some persons over there that they have brought it here. So a lot of cultural exchange had happened. So people have come all over from there. Even you take food items, there is some noodles or some food items, which is they call it is Burma noodles or something like that in Chennai, right? And I still remember people moved to Malaysia and coming to Tamil Nadu are looked very in a high level because they bring some tape recorder kind of technological items which was not possible to buy or to get or everyone is affordable to buy during that time. So people from Malaysia buy a tape recorder and come here and they used to seen as a big person, right? So these are the situations, the cultural exchange that have happened. So India and Southeast Asia is an important feature of contemporary Southeast Asia is the presence of Indian minorities in every country of this region. So very, very important, right? So the total population of Indian origin is estimated to be around 2 million in those countries altogether, 2 lakhs people. So reason behind is religious connectedness first, right? You have seen uh, various pictures, see the religious connectedness, right? So Indian cultural influence on art, literature, and architecture without sublanding the indigenous cultural values, right? So very important is the religious connectedness. Even the literature, the terms we use, right? So the terms of Malayalam literature, we can see terms in Tamil literature, Hindi literature. We see a lot of terms, right? How it has been contributed because it's high level of people migration of from these countries to India, from India. So Indian population in Southeast Asia in 21st century, right? You see here non-resident Indian NRIs and persons of Indian origin PIOs and total. You see around 61 lakhs of people living around in those countries, in those 11 countries, 61 lakhs of people, right? So you see here, for example, Indonesia host high amount of people, and Malaysia, Myanmar, even in Singapore. You see why it is because of the religious connectedness, and people moved to those places in pre-colonial period as well as during colonial period because all these lands are or under colonial by British people. So people forcefully also moved Indian people to work in those lands, especially in the plantation, right? Exclusively in tea plantation and sugar plantation and some other factories, right? So that people were forcibly moved. And history says that even the British colonial era, people moved to these countries for trade, business. So situation of Indian diaspora. So you see here how the various other countries, the countries have taken the Indians through policies, right? How they have brought new policy. For example, in Malaysia, the new economic policy in 1970 adversely affected the Indian community. So, what is the new economic policy in 1970? It cut across a lot of provisions to Indians, right, in terms of giving employment. So, first preference to be given to Malaysian people, then, then. So, they go an orderly to whom has to be given second and third and fourth. And in terms of education, in terms of land, using the land resources. So, everything there is a matter, right? So where Indians are well represented in the judiciary, civil services, and armed forces of that country. But Singapore is slightly different, and even frequently see Indians, our Indian origin, are getting a very good government positions, job, topmost job in uh, Singapore. You see that uh, even the president, where the Indian origin like S.R. Nathan and late Rajaratnam, who are Indian origins, an influential personality in the public life of Singapore, right? A country which is uh, giving priority to people who have rich intellectual capacity to be part of the government, right? So to be a president of that country from Indian origin is somewhat proud to our nation, right? So Singapore, it's totally different in terms when we compare to Malaysia, right? So Myanmar, so ethnic Indians have no social, political, and economic clout, but nationalization policies implemented the government lead to an exodus of Indians on a large scale, right? Again, Myanmar is excluding the Indians from the mainstream. So cultural base of emigration in pre-colonial period. So what is the meaning of culture? So culture refers to the patterns of thought and behavior of people. Right? So it includes values, the belief we have, right? Beliefs, uh, rules and regulations, government policies, right? So all this is a part of culture or shaping the culture. So these are changing from generation to generation, person to generation to generation, and country to country. Some in a great extent. For example, you take alcoholism. Alcoholism is a social problem in India, but it is not a social problem in some African countries, or it's not a social problem in US, right? So why it is not a social problem? Because they know how to use the drugs or to the what extent, right? So it differs country to country, right? So meaning of culture, it's is a patterns of thought and behavior of people, right? You see here Garuda, Indonesia, right? It's a temple, Garuda temple in Indonesia. How this term Garuda has be the name of their air in Indonesia, right? Just imagine Garuda is typically the Indian, considered as the Indian god, and the temple also established over there, right? So influence of Hinduism and Buddhism uh, s- is some proclaimed, uh, we can say, because uh, how the Hindu tradition has influenced the other nationals through soft power to build a temple and all these things. So there are references to Hindu philosophical ideas and Vedic religion, Purana and epic myths and legends, and all prominent Hindu divinities and ideas. So Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva were worshipped together with the satellite gods and goddess. So the images of gods combined together in Trimurti, as well as the image of the composite gods Shiva and Vishnu are found in Java and Cambodia, right? Whereas in Indonesia, right? So Angkor Water Temple Complex, Cambodia, in Indonesia, right? So we find this type of the big level of soft power or cultural transmission that had happened across the uh, Asian continent, right? So cultural exists through trade and commerce. So you find here how the trade and commerce took place. So during the Gupta period, that is a pre-colonial period. uh, so India is known for their richness in few areas. One is textiles, right? Another is a kind of food items, food grains, right? And jewelry, metal, grafting code, and we are extremely very good at that. So there was much demand of Indian goods and trade between India and Southeast Asia, which was seen as the land of spices and rice growing fertile lands and flourished. So uh, in Mekong Delta in Vietnam was the first trading post of Indian traders. So they trade in Vietnam, right? So the traders they took a kind of stay over there, residing place over there, and spread to other countries of the region. So Vietnam is the place where we started our trading, right? So because we are very good at art, culture, textiles, food grains, we Indians products are highly demanded in Asian countries, right? So influence of migrants or influence of diaspora. Uh, the diaspora of any country provides the human division dimension to the links between two countries, right? And they have a unique role in international relations because they find themselves in between two countries, sharing in two countries, having an emotional investment in two nations, and preserving social connections in two societies, right? So diaspora is an economic, cultural, political, emotional, and social investment, right? So the diaspora has a various dimension. So that we need to understand. Sometimes we feel that it's only for the economic reasons we are going some other countries. primarily for that reasons to earn or something. But it it moved beyond our imagination, because we do cultural, political, and emotional social investment in the host countries. So automatically, due to that, the cultural linkage is happening and the exchange is happening, right? So this about uh, the unit one of block one of the Indian diaspora, an overview, a pre-colonial period, how it is happened, right? So Central Asia, that is unit 36 of. So what is Central Asia? It's understand the historical sense of Central Asia, comprehend the uh, migration patterns of Indian merchants, familiarize with the distinctiveness. Excuse me. So comprehend the migration patterns of Indian merchants, familiarize with the distinctiveness of the Indian diaspora in Central Asia, and know about various crucial institutions relating to the Indian diaspora, and appreciate the achievements of Indian diaspora in the Central Asia and analyze the decline of the Indian diaspora in Central Asia. So these are the various things we are going to learn on the aspect of Central Asia. So pre-colonial migration. In modern political sense, the Central Asia region covers five countries, including Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Dagestan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan, right? So these are the central uh, Central Asian countries, right? However, these countries are mainly with Muslim populations are high, would be the reasons of lot of trade, and there is a pre-colonial migration. Focus would be on we are going to use the term Turan in the unit. So Turan term comprise modern Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, and northern part of Pakistan and Afghanistan, right? So these are the combination called Turan. So uh, the broader definition of Central Asia has been used in the unit that includes former Soviet Republic of Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan, as well as Afghanistan and autonomous region of China, Xinjiang, Uyghur, right? So this the South Asian, Central Asian countries. So, what is the historical dimensions of Indian diaspora? So, in the pre-colonial migration, the Indian diaspora and the Central Asia regions can be captured under the merchant diasporas category. So, there is a lot of trade, right? Uh, so, emerging of Indian Iranian cultural and commercial contexts, right? So, the Multanis, the word Multani owes its origin from today's industrial town located in the southern part of Punjab province of Pakistan, that indicates the historical connection of Multanis to the northwestern Indian region. So Multanis means traders, right? So the Shikarpuri, after the late 18th century, it was witnessed that the Indian diaspora merchants were increasingly called Shikarpuri. It happened because of the gradually decline of Multan and the subsequent rise of Shikarpur, right? So Indian diaspora distinct characteristics. You see the dominance of Indian diaspora in Central Asia and religious dimension of the Indian diaspora and the socio-economic dimension of the Indian diaspora, right? So cultural assimilation of trade with the money lending, India's agrarian economy, right? The dominance of Indian diaspora in Central Asia in three areas. So cultural sanction, assimilation of trade with money lending, and India's agrarian economy. right? So, what are the decline of Indian diaspora in Central Asia? That is Russian domination, Russian direct role in the rural credit system, and industrial revolutions were the reasons behind the decline of Indian diaspora in Central Asia. We learn it very elaborately in upcoming uh, classes as well. So, Indian traders in West Asia, right? Excuse me. Right. Indian traders in West Asia. Just a minute. Thank you. So, it traces a historical background of the Indian trade diaspora in West Asia, right? And know the profiles of select Indian traders in Gulf region and familiarize uh, yourself with the uh, Indian diaspora and diamond traders in Israel. Right? Okay. So, uh, how the objective is to familiarize ourselves with Indian diaspora and diamond traders in Israel. So, what is the Indian traders have been settled mainly in Persian Gulf or Arabian Peninsula regions, and more specifically, six Gulf Cooperation Councils (GCC) countries like Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates and Yemen. So, these are the countries under Gulf Cooperation Council. So, outside this region, Israel can also be considered in this context, where a considerable number of Indians have been operating as diamond traders for the past 2 3 decades. Right. So these are the countries. So in Oman, we see that in Muscat, the Indian merchants, mainly Hindus who lived there part of each a year, were well present, represented and influential. So the Hindus were allowed their own religious practices, and there were already existence of four Hindu temples. You see that in Muscat by mid 1760s. Apparently, the Hindu merchants in Oman has security to life and property, right? And you see in United Arab Emirates, except India or Indians, no other subject or country was allowed to do pearl fishing, right? Pearls fishing in their region. The last 19th century, according to SB Miles and Dubai, with a population of 12,000 to 40,000, the trade was practically in the hands of the Banyas, whose strong business capacity gives them a leading position, right? So Banyas of Indian origins were doing the trade, and the country has given uh, the business in their hands, right? See here, women, their others are not allowed to the business. Pearl fishing is not allowed, and Hindu temples were constructed 1970s, 1760s as well, right? So you see in Bahrain, in the beginning of 20th century, there were 69 Hindu traders in Myanmar. According to Lormus in his article, the number could go up to 175 in the pearling session. So the small number of Muslim traders were also there in Bahrain. And Kuwait, migration dynamics is further reflected in the progressive strength of Indian expatriate community in Kuwait. Means you see the number increasing to 7 lakhs 50,000 in 2014, when it was 1975 is 32,000. So how much the soft power, how much remittance, how much the cultural engagement, and how much the policies for Indians to move there, right, in both the countries and invest over there. And you see Qatar again, the strength of uh, Indian immigrant community in Qatar kept progressively increasing from 30,000 to 5 lakhs in 2014. So it has instituted a certain number of institutions, organizations which are rendering valuable social, cultural, charitable support and assistance for the community. You find a lot of schools, a lot of institutions are run by Indians and for the Indians as well, right? So outside the Persian Gulf region, Israel hosts the second largest permanently settled Indian diaspora in West Asia, North Africa after Yemen, right? So following the creation of Israel in 1848 until 1987, right? Sorry, 1948 it is. 1948 to 1987, over 25,000 Indian Jews and had migrated to Israel. So, in spite of facing many difficulties in Israel, Indian Jews are now very well settled in community there. Their present strength is about 90,000 persons in Israel of who are in Indian from Indian origin Jews, right? So these are the various aspects when we are dealing with the business aspects of uh, in Central Asia, right? So, what is a learning? What is Indian diaspora overview is clearly indicates us that there is a lot of cultural exchange that is happening. That is very important, right? So that cultural exchange, religious exchange, everything plays a very great role in terms of uh, soft power, in terms of increase in number of people moving to those countries and increase in the remittance. So that I told, even there is a war that is going between Israel and Iran and the US. There is no downfall in the remittance in from these countries, all right? So that very important aspect to remember, right? So we particularly go on the colonial era too to understand. Uh, Excuse me. Just- Okay. So the colonial era. So during the colonial era, we are going to say exclusively what is the uh, exact form of how this uh, migration took place. We know that it is by force, right? So by force, this migration took place by the British colonial era, right? And what are the forms that we will learn under this? So indentured labor migration. So what is indentured labor migration? Is an industrial revolution and colonial capital expansion of industrial agriculture, right? So the term is very much important. Is an industrial agriculture. They industrialize the agricultural work. That means a lot of trading based on tea, coffee, sugar, and rubber. So Means the British as very greedy on uh, exporting or selling those products and get a lot of money. So demand for unskilled labor after the abolition of slavery 1833. So shift to Indian labor due to socio-economic crisis caused by British policies. So Indian system overview. So after 1833, where the abolition of slavery has slowly taken place, Indian system has come into practice. So recruitment mechanism of Indian labor migration. This 1834 to 1917. So major colonies involved Mauritius, Caribbean, Fiji, and East Africa. So definition and context and regional origins. So definition of endangered is that it's a contractual labor agreements defining work, wages, housing, and medical aid, and migrate as a contractual state regulated process under British laws. Right. So you go on contract because there is slavery system. You go as in a contract where you have to work 1 year or 2 years and you sign in their agreement and all those things for salary burden and the fringe benefits that they give. So push and pull factors are the poverty, unemployment, famine, socioeconomic stagnation. There is a famine during uh, early 19th centuries lead to this kind of migration. And the pull factor is a promise of stable income, better living conditions by recruiters. So regional origin is in northern India, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, southern India, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. Key ports are Calcutta and Madras in the south. So these are the ways they have moved to. So the plantation life and resistance, right? So what is the situation and resistance that is happening in this plantation life? So harsh working conditions, especially overwork, low wages, malnourishment, there is no proper food given or less food is given to them, leads to disease, restriction of movement, workers confined to plantations, right? So restriction of movement in the sense they should not move anywhere else except the place that is given to them. They are controlled, and these are the plantation life. So uh, they are given sometimes a debt of certain amount. For example, if it is 10,000, they have to work for 1 year to repay that amount to uh, the employer. So a lot of this type of is an another regularized form of slavery system. So they start resisting for that. So strikes, revolt, collective actions by laborers, right? So there is an emergence of solidarity, right? We have discussed in the previous paper also. Under the fundamental rights is solidarity, rights of solidarity, right? So Jagged's boy bonds, right? We will discuss that later. And the colonial policies and exploitation, weak legislative protection, government favored planters, right? Conditions compared to slavery, right? So these are the colonial policies and exploitation, global legacy, spread to Indian culture and tradition in host countries, and socio-economic impact on modern Indian diaspora. So these are the plantation life and resistance during that time. So women in the indentured labor system. So Indian initial challenges. So women initially excluded from indentured labor due to employer perception of them as burdens because of their they have to bear a child and pregnancy, all those things. So recruitment efforts for women increased during 1840s and 1850s, gaining momentum after 1860s. So workforce ratio and roles, standard ratio set at 40 women to 100 men. So women performed lighter tasks like hoeing, weeding, but were paid less than men. Received off the ration given to male laborers, right? And gender exploitation. So women were seen as a reserve labor while also fulfilling reproductive roles, and subject to particularly negative stereotyping and economic exploitation. So that is the gender exploitation that is happening. So they are off paid, off ration is given, highly exploited, their health is being exploited, their work is being exploited. So that is the conditions of women in this indentured labor system. Challenges and resistance. So imbalanced gender ratio led to increased sexual harassment violence. Examples in Fiji, 2,230 murders occurred between 1885 to 1920 due to sexual jealousy, right? So, uh, agency and resistance, despite oppression, women asserted their identities and resisted particular patriarchy. And Valliyamma Munuswamy Mudaliar, Tamil origin, has fought against this oppression. And Foy Fatima Shaikh Muhammad in 1980 Satyagraha struggled in South Africa, right? 1913. So these are the women who resist over and fought for their rights. And evolving gender relations, economic independence offered some bargaining power. Uh, women adopted to navigate both colonial oppression and traditional patriarchy. So, what is the legacy and identity construction? So, cultural adaptation, like maintain Indian cultural practices, especially in closer region like East Africa and Malaya. Longer distances like Arabian Fiji led to cross loss the of ties and cultural homogenization, right? So there is a transformation of identity, decline of distinction. So when they go there, and there is a decline of cost kind of identity, emergence of common Indian identity, right? So because they have to resist sometime, excuse me. So Indian syncretism is happening and cultural integration in host societies. And socio-economic progress is happening. So descendants of indentured women achieved significant economic success and contribution played a role in anti-colonial movements and nation building in host countries. Their resilience and adaptations have left lasting legacy of cultural and economic impact globally. Right. So these are the main areas of indentured labor. Any questions? I think Sasa has joined. Any questions? Okay, we stop it here. Thank you, Sasa, for joining. Sasya, right?